Okay, all right, I'll give you guys an injury report here, so I'll start with Josh. As you guys are aware, Josh was injured in the fourth quarter there. They looked at his hand. He went back in and functioned, and then he was looked at after the game again, and he's been cleared to practice today and cleared to play in the game. Next up is Taren Johnson. He obviously did not return from the game or in the game, and he'll be ruled out for this week. Dewan Smoot will not practice today, and it's looking like he'll be ruled out as well for this game. Javon Solomon will be limited, as well as Ty Johnson today. Both will be, at this point, day-to-day. Trubisky, Quentin Morris, I think that should round it out, will be full today. Both of those guys will be full today. So with that, I'll take your questions. Yeah, I don't, and really with all Josh, Taren, I don't have much more information. With Taren, I don't know his timeline on when he'll be back. So we're still doing some further research on that. So, but as far as other questions go related to injuries, I'm not going to go any further than I've already gone. So. Yeah, I don't think so. He was able to do it, and so we'll just see how it goes today more than anything. So.
With Taren not playing Thursday, just what did you see from Cam Lewis yesterday?
Yeah, I thought Cam really did a great job. Another guy that stepped in to a role that he was not in to begin with, and in the starting role there. And Jamarcus, as I mentioned after the game, I thought did a great job. Cam Lewis did a great job, and there's several others that did the same thing. So. I'm really impressed with how hard the guys prepared during the week, and then they stepped in when they were called.
I know the schedule's a schedule, but what are the challenges in having a short week in your week 2 with a team that still looks like it's gelling, and now with all these injuries compounded with new pieces that have to be factored?
Yeah, it's just another challenge. Our guys we're kind of used to that, and our guys, it's important that the best thing we can do is control what we can control right now, and that's who's playing where and in what spots, and then getting ourselves as ready to go as we can for a divisional matchup in Miami and against a really good football team.
How important were the halftime, or how, I mean, the halftime adjustments that you made, how encouraging was it that you were able to get you probably want to get the answers in the second quarter, but to get to the answers on defense to affect the game that much in the second half?
Yeah, like I said, part of a new team is also part of a new staff in some ways, and you want to be able to say, hey, we've been able to answer some of the questions or grow through some moments that come up like that, and to be able to make adjustments in our first game, I think was big for us as a staff, and for those adjustments to work, and then also for the team as a whole to be in a close game, which most games in the NFL are. And then, obviously we fell behind early, but to keep our poise and to just really trust that, hey, we'll find our way back, and the players did a phenomenal job of doing that.
Trying to go up, 31-20 it was after that touchdown, and feeling maybe pretty good there, and then that kick return happens. I know you said you wanted to watch it on film to identify that a little bit more, but that kind of error on special teams really opened it up to being a game again. Yeah. What went wrong, and how troubling is that?
Well, I thought that there was too much return yardage to begin with before the returner was met with any type of confrontation, let's call it, right, for lack of a better word. And then we had 3 or 4 guys right there to make the play, and we didn't make the play. And so we got to do a better job. I got to do a better job putting them in position, and then when they're there, we got to make the play. So, we looked hard at that this morning, and it's an area of concern, and it's an area that we have to make sure that we shore up between now and the game here coming Thursday. So, there's 4 plays right now, 4 plays on special teams that are big time factors: punt return, and now kickoff and kickoff return. So that was a pivotal moment in the game for us.
The first 3 quarters were probably pretty clean in that regard on special teams, but then the kick return happens, the kick goes out of bounds at the end, which gives them really good field position. that just kind of underscore that, you know, that phase of the game has got to be clean for you guys going forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the research is, Jay, on around the league from week 1 yet. We're still kind of gathering that, and I'm trying to sort through right now the other important information I'm dealing with. But, you know, we're going to make sure that we're, you know, researching that and seeing what the trends are. And, I mean, it's a new play, right? And so right away in week 1, it wasn't this way necessarily in the preseason, I would say, but we're seeing in week 1 that, hey, this is real, and you know, in a pivotal moment of the game, that game changed fast, right? And so we can't let that happen, number one, and we've got to have more urgency there.
Sean, what did you think about the way your linebackers and secondary worked together?
Yeah, I mean, you know, in the first half, I didn't feel like we played very well. I didn't feel like we coached very well, and that starts with me. I just, overall, I didn't think I felt like we were doing a lot of reacting and waiting for them to do things instead of us being the aggressors, right? And so at halftime, again, the coaches did a great job, and the players came out and played aggressive, and I think that was shown. I think the first defensive series was 3 and out, and finished with a sack, I believe, on 3rd down. So the crowd got into the game, and we got into a rhythm there, which was important. You know, we got to do that earlier in the game, let's say. So I just felt like we were on our heels too much.
Along that same line, what was your evaluation of Dorian Williams' performance?
Yeah, I thought he did a good job. Really, I know he started a little bit last year, I believe, but you know, really hasn't had a ton of playing time other than preseason this year. So I thought Dorian was really growing through the course of the game and getting more and more comfortable as the game went on, in particular on 1st and 2nd down. And then he was on the field in the last drive of the game where we won the game.
Hey, Sean, tough slate for Torrance this year, the penalties. How do you think he'll respond to that?
For Cybo? Yeah. No, we had multiple penalties that I thought hurt us, really. You can't beat yourself. It's hard enough to win in this league. Then when you're beating yourself with especially pre-snap penalties, you know, those are non-negotiables. You can't do that and expect to win.
Sean, Curtis Samuel's snaps were a little lower than maybe what we expected. Was that any residual from his toe injury earlier in, or is that just?
Yeah, just overall how the game was flowing. So, you know, good to get guys involved, multiple guys involved. So I thought Curtis did a good job.
How did you feel about some of the rush contain issues against the Cardinals, and how important is it to clean it up against the Dolphins team that likes to hit the edge?
Yeah, I mean, that's important. That's what I mentioned earlier about not playing well enough in the first half on defense. Again, glad we made those adjustments, and the players looked like they got into a rhythm in the second half, and some of that comes from just, you know, kind of waiting, like I said, waiting for Kyler maybe to try and get out of the pocket instead of going to get him in an aggressive fashion. And so, you know, look, it's first game, so there's a lot of unknowns, and you haven't been back in the saddle for some of those guys in a while. So I'm glad we played ourselves through it and coached ourselves through it. But we got to be better overall in terms of affecting the quarterback, and also making sure we keep contained.
Coach, during a short week like this, what's the balance between making sure your team gets the rest it needs and then also preparing for a team like Miami, who's known for being very fast?
Yeah, no, they got probably the best team speed in the league, and in all 3 phases, quite frankly. So it'll be a big challenge for us going down there, and you know, they're a really good team, a lot of talent, well coached, good special teams as well, and you know, we know what we're going into down there, and on a short week in particular, we got to make sure we get our rest here and make sure we're ready to go.
Sean, Rousseau was at almost 80% snaps. That's rarely seen for you, with how much you like to rotate up front. Is that a reflection of maybe how he was playing in the game?
Yeah, a little bit. Just managing that too, and you know, just trying to be smart with how much he is playing, and I mean, it's a long season too, right? So, but Greg's young, and he was rolling there. So I thought coaches did a good job of letting him roll.
Coach, Brandon Covington spoke
Well, right now it's one game and a couple returns, so I'm just real proud of him and the way he handled our environment, number one, and the weather. I think some people don't realize how hard it is to catch, a punt or a kickoff with the wind blowing the way it was blowing yesterday. So he put in the work leading up to the game, and it showed. I mean, to have that type of play in your first snap in the NFL is pretty impressive. And he's just a guy that puts in a lot of work, like I said, and believes in the process. And I'm sure, like all of us, he's trying to just make the adjustments going into week 2. Good. All right. Thanks, guys.